So, hello and welcome back yet again to Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where I just got a recap because I wasn't in here to hear the last two chapters. So, I just got an Aaron recap of what I missed while he was reading. I'm kind of digging this whole trading off thing because it's a lot of fun, especially if I'm not in, well, if I am in the room, it's a lot of fun because sometimes I can't contain my giggles. And if I'm not, it's really fun because I get to hear Aaron describe what happened in the chapters that he read, which is a lot of fun to listen to. I hope you're also having as much fun. I mean, I feel like Aaron's probably the more entertaining reader, but I do my best. I hope everybody is doing good. I think it's actually spring. I think we can officially say that it is finally spring. Almost all of the snow is gone, and we walked around the lake today. It was really nice. The breeze is still a little bit cold, but we saw a butterfly and lots of other little bugs, and there was no ice at all, even in the big part of the lake. So, no ice. All of the ducks are coming back. I think it's spring. I think we finally made it. Huzzah! I'm hoping in the next 3 to 5 days we can start working on the garden beds. It's the ground isn't quite warm enough. I mean, I couldn't direct sow anything yet. But that time is coming soon, and that makes me really excited and really happy. I understand that in the last two chapters, there was a death on board the Nautilus, and Captain Nemo got emotional about it, which definitely would surprise me because he was a very self-contained man. And Aaron was describing the coral forest, which is the Nautilus's graveyard, which sounds beautiful. So now we are going to be embarking into part two of this book. So we're going to be resetting our chapter numbers. Chapter numbers, is that what you call them? It might be what you call them. Anyway, we're going to be resetting the chapters back to chapter 1 of book 2 of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, titled The Indian Ocean. Here begins the second part of this voyage under the sea. The first ended with the painful scene at the coral cemetery, which has left a profound impression on my mind. Thus, then in the bosom of the immense ocean, Captain Nemo's entire life was passed, and he had even prepared his grace in the grave in the most impenetrable of its depths. There, not one of the ocean monsters would trouble the last slumber of the inhabitants of the Nautilus. Of these men, riveted to each other in death as in life. Nor man either, Captain Nemo had added. There was always in him the same implacable and ferocious defiance towards all of human society. I no longer contented myself with the hypothesis that satisfied Conseil. That worthy fellow persisted in only seeing in the commander of the Nautilus one of the unappreciated savants who gave back to humanity disdain for its indifference. Nemo was still for him a misunderstood genius who, tired of the depictions of the world, had sought refuge in the inaccessible medium where he could then freely exercise his instinct. But, in my opinion, that hypothesis only explained one aspect of Captain Nemo. In fact, the mystery of that last night during which we had been enchained in prison and sleep, the precautions so violently taken by the captain of snatching away from my eyes the telescope ready to sweep the horizon, the mortal wound of the man due to an inexplicable shock of the Nautilus, all of that inclined me in a fresh direction. No, Captain Nemo did not content himself with fleeing from mankind. His formidable apparatus not only served his instincts of liberty, but maybe, maybe also was the instrument of terrible revenge. Nothing really binds us to Captain Nemo. He knows that to escape from the Nautilus is impossible. We are not even prisoners of honor, we are just captives. Prisoners disguised under the name of guests by an appearance of courtesy, but nonetheless, Ned Land has never renounced the hope of recovering his liberty. It is certain that he will profit by the first occasional chance that offers it. I shall undoubtedly do the same, and yet it will not be without a sort of regret that I shall take away what the captain's generosity has allowed us to see about the mysteries of the Nautilus. For after all, is the captain a man to be hated or admired? Is he a victim or an executioner? And to speak frankly, I should like, before leaving him forever, to have accomplished the submarine tour round the world of which the beginning has been so magnificent. I should like to have observed the complete series of marvels piled under the seas of the globe. I should like to have seen what no man has seen before, even if I should pay with my life for this desire to learn. What have I yet discovered? Nothing, or nearly nothing, since we have only been about 3,000 leagues of the Pacific so far. However, I know that the Nautilus is approaching inhabited lands, and that if some chance of salvation is offered us, it would be cruel to sacrifice my companions just to my passion for the unknown. I must follow, perhaps even guide them, but will this occasion ever present itself? The man deprived by force of his freedom may desire it, but the savant, the learner, he dreads it. That day, the 21st of January, 1868, at noon, the first officer came to take the height of the sun. I went up onto the platform and followed the operation. It appeared evident to me that this man did not understand French for many reasons. I made reflections aloud, which must have drawn from him some involuntary sign of attention had he understood them, but he remained expressionless. When the Nautilus was prepared to continue her submarine journey, I went down to the saloon. The panels were closed. Our course was directly west, and it continued like that for several days. On the morning of the 24th, we sighted Keeling Island, plated with magnificent cocoas. The Nautilus kept along the shores of this desert island for a little distance. Soon Keeling Island had disappeared from the horizon, and we directed our course to the northwest towards the Indian Peninsula. "Civilized land," said Ned to me that day. "That's better than the islands of Papau, where you meet with more savages than venison. On that Indian ground, Professor, there are roads, railways, English, French, or Hindi towns. One wouldn't go 5 miles without meeting one of our countrymen. Well, isn't it the moment to take a bit of French leave of Captain Nemo?" "No, Ned, no," I said, in a very determined tone. "Let us just see what comes of it. The Nautilus is getting nearer the inhabited continents. It's going back towards Europe. Let it take us there. Once in our own seas, we will see what prudence advises us to attempt. Besides, I do not suppose that Captain Nemo would allow us to go and shoot along the coasts of Malabar or Coromandel. like he did in the forests of New Guinea. Well, said Ned, can't we do it without his permission? I did not answer the Canadian, for I did not wish to argue. At the bottom of my heart, I wished to exhaust to the very end the chances of destiny that had thrown me on board the Nautilus. And that is the end of chapter 1 of book 2, which definitely seemed a little bit more just descriptive. No real action. Of course, I missed the chapters with all the good action. I'm going to get a drink, and we're going to continue in just a minute. Moisture obtained, huzzah. And now, let's read chapter 2 of book 2 of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is titled A Fresh Proposition of Captain Nemo's. By the 28th of January, we were near the island of Leon. I went to look in the library for a book giving an account of this island, one of the most fertile on the globe. At that moment, Captain Nemo and the first mate appeared. The captain looked at the map and then turned to me. The island of Leon, he said, is very celebrated for its pearl fisheries. Would you like to see one of them, Monsieur Arnaud? I would indeed, Captain. Then, Professor, said the captain, you and your companions shall see the oyster bank of Manar, and if by chance some early diver should be found there, we will see him at work. Agreed, Captain. But, Monsieur Arnaud, are you not afraid of sharks? Sharks? I said. This question, to me at least, seemed a very idle one. Well, I confess, Captain, that I am not yet quite at home with that kind of fish. We are used to them, said the captain, and in time you will be also. However, we shall be armed, and on the road we may have a shark hunt. So goodbye until tomorrow, sir. It'll be early in the morning. This, said in a careless tone, as Captain Nemo left the saloon. Now, if you were invited to hunt the bear in the Swiss mountains, you would say, very well, we'll go hunt bear tomorrow. And if you were invited to hunt the lion on the plains of the Atlas or the tiger in the jungles of India, you would say, aha, it seems we are going to hunt lions and tigers. But if you were invited to hunt the shark in its native element, you would perhaps ask time for reflection before accepting the invitation. As to me, I passed my hand over my forehead, where stood out several drops of cold sweat. I must reflect and take time, I told myself. To hunt otters in the submarine forests, as we did in the forests of Crespo Island, that's one thing, but to walk along the bottom of the sea, where you're pretty sure of meeting with sharks, that's another. And then I began to dream of sharks, thinking of their vast jaws armed with multiplied rows of teeth capable of cutting a man in half. I already felt a sharp pain in my loins, and then I could just not digest the cool way in which the captain had made this invitation. Anyone would have thought that it was just to follow some inoffensive little fox through the woods. Good, I thought. Conseil will never come, and that will dispense me from having to accompany the captain. As to Ned Land, I must acknowledge I did not feel so sure of his prudence. Peril, however great, always seemed to have some sort of attraction for his warlike nature. I went on reading my book on Ceylon, but I turned over the leaves of the pages mechanically. I saw formidably open jaws between every line. At that moment, Conseil and Ned entered, looking calm, even happy. They didn't know what was awaiting them. "Faith, sir," said Ned Land, "your Captain Nemo, who the devil can just take, has just made a very agreeable offer." "Ah," I said, "so you know—" "Yes," said Conseil. "The commander of the Nautilus has invited us to visit tomorrow, in company with Monsieur the magnificent fisheries of Ceylon. He did so handsomely and quite like a real gentleman." "Did he tell you anything else?" "No," said Ned, "except that he mentioned the little excursion to you." He did," I told them. "And he gave you no details about—" "Nothing, Mr. Naturalist. You're going, though, aren't you?" I? Oh, of course. I see the outing is to your liking, Ned." "Yeah, it'll be very curious." "Maybe dangerous?" I said in an insinuating tone. "Dangerous?" said Ned. "A simple excursion to an oyster bank dangerous?" It was evident that Captain Nemo had not thought it proper to awake the idea of sharks in the mind of my companions. I looked at them with a troubled eye, as if some limb were wanting to depart from their bodies already. Should I warn them? Certainly I should, but I hardly knew how to set about it. "Are many pearls found in this very same oyster?" Conseil asked. "Yes," I told him. "Mention has been made of an oyster, but I cannot help doubting it, which contained no less than 150 sharks." "150 sharks?" said Ned Land. Did I say sharks?" I said. "I meant 150 pearls. Sharks, that would be nonsense." "I've heard tell," said Ned, "that a certain lady of ancient times drank pearls in her vinegar." "Cleopatra," said Conseil. "I bet it was nasty," Ned said. "Detestable, friend Ned," told Conseil. "But a little glass of vinegar that cost 60,000 pounds, it would be a nice price, eh?" "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't marry the lady," said the Canadian, waving his arms in no very reassuring manner. "But," I said, "returning to pearls of great value, I do not think any sovereign has ever possessed one better than that of Captain Nemo." "You mean this?" said Conseil, pointing to a magnificent jewel in a glass case. "Oh, definitely," I said. "I am not mistaken in assigning it a value of 2 millions of—" "Francs?" said Conseil. Yes," I told him, 2 millions of francs. And I dare say that it only cost the captain the trouble of going out and picking it up." "Heh!" said Ned. "Well, who says that during our excursion tomorrow we won't meet with one just like it?" "Bah," Conseil told him. "And why not?" "Well, what use would millions be to us on board the Nautilus?" "On board? None," said Ned. "But elsewhere?" "Oh, elsewhere," said Conseil. "In point of fact," I said, "Ned Land is right. And if ever we take back to Europe or America a pearl worth millions, that will at least give great authenticity and at the same time a great value to the account of our adventures." "Well, I should think so," said Ned. "But," said Conseil, who always returned to the instructive side of things. Is this pearl diving dangerous? No, I told them, especially if one takes certain precautions. Oh, what risk can there be? Said Ned, except that of swallowing a bit of seawater. Yeah, you're right, Ned, I told him, then trying to assume the same tone that Captain Nemo had used. Are you afraid of sharks, Ned? Me? Said the Canadian. A harpooner by profession? It's my business to laugh at sharks. But, I told him, there's no question of fishing them with a merlin, drawing them up onto the deck of a ship and cutting off their tails with hatchets, cutting them open, taking out their hearts, and then throwing them back into the sea. That means yes. In the water? In the water. Ah, faith, with a good harpoon? You know, sir, these sharks are awkward fellas, and they're badly put together. They must turn on their stomachs to nab you, and during that time... Ned Land had a way of saying the word nab that kind of made my blood go cold. Well, I said, and you, Conseil, what do you think of sharks? Me, said Conseil. I will tell Monsieur frankly. There's still some hope, I thought. If Monsieur means to face the sharks, said Conseil, then I do not see why his faithful servant should not face the sharks with him. And that is the end of the chapter. I don't think that Monsieur Arnaud wants to go shark fishing. I also don't know where he got all those vivid descriptions of pulling out shark hearts, but okay there, Monsieur Verne. Oh, I hope they don't fin the sharks. Also, I have to object to Ned saying that sharks are poorly put together. Sharks are marvels. I think sharks are very cool. Do I want to swim with them? Not really. But that's just because salt water's weird. I think living in the Upper Peninsula has spoiled me because I have really, really big lakes that I can go see that almost look like oceans, but they're not salty and they don't have sharks. I appreciate that. I guess I don't appreciate the temperature of like Lake Superior because you turn blue a few minutes after you dip your toes in, but it's a beautiful lake to look at. I do like the fact that Monsieur Arnaud is like, yeah, I guess if we do find a way to escape, we should, but I don't wanna. I don't blame him. It sounds like their life is going pretty good. I think the only thing that would keep me off the Nautilus, other than the fact that it's like all dudes on there, is probably having to eat seafood. I'm not a big fish eater. I'm trying to change that, or at least I'm trying to change it mentally before I start trying to eat fish, but never been a big fish person. I have to agree with Ned. I am much more into land-based protein. But other than that, this adventure sounds like a blast, and I'm kind of digging it, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for listening, as always, and until next time, please hit the thumbs up on your way out, and I'll see you later.